I think more and more I feel my position with holographic breathing, or what holographic breathing brings, that seems to fill a gap in the breathwork arena, is the spiritual side and the channeling. I know that is there in the breathwork arena, but I just don't see much of it. There's a lot about different techniques, breathing fast, breathing slow, holding, and different things like that, but not a lot of attention seems to be put onto this wonderful just channeled energy that is available. And maybe that's why not a lot came up in advance, because I'm more and more just relying on the information that comes through while I'm teaching. And a couple of things with that. One, people can pass in and out of consciousness just from my voice, just from the energies coming through, and from holographic breathing is very soporific as well. Don't fight that if that happens. Sometimes it will happen, other times not. Sometimes when you listen to the recordings, they'll knock you out. Other times you'll be wide awake through them. And I think a lot of that is dependent on what is coming up at the time. If there's a lot of pain in your body, or a lot of stress, or you haven't slept, or a lot of things coming to the surface, it's harder to stay awake, and you're more likely to kind of float in and out of consciousness. Or just you're entering a stronger channeling type space, and the mind is letting go, so you're going into a space of no mind, and it's hard to be awake when it's like that. You do float a bit in and out of consciousness, and there's a big difference between awareness and focus. Focus is very pointed, and people can stay awake they focus on something, but that's focusing the mind in a way. Awareness and allowing is a different thing, and you can float through different realms, and in a lot of sense you're awake all of the time, even though you're floating backwards and forwards between these different things. So what I'm basically saying is, don't fight it. It's not the winning prize to stay awake all of the way through, or not to pass in and out, or not to miss anything. And there are the recordings there. It's not just like I'm saying stuff and if you don't get it, you've missed it. No, you can play the recording for really wonderfully. The channels seem to come through in the recordings as well. So it is all there. And but I'll talk some more, but let's just bring in the channels now rather than before the meditation. Let's just closing your eyes and gently doing holographic breathing. and sending a smile, sending some energy to the earth. And allowing the earth to say hello back. Meeting with the energies of the earth. Allowing the energies of the earth. They mirror our energies. It's not just mud. It's a being. Massive, divine being of the earth. Allowing the divine energies of the earth to communicate with you and for you to communicate back. And also sending a smile, sending some energy to the higher self and the beneficial energies. Beneficial energies are any channels, any divine energies, any divine beings that you work with or wish to work with, and the higher self. And asking the higher self and the beneficial energies, or allowing the higher self and the beneficial energies to say hello back. So you're not just saying hi to them, you're allowing the transmission from the higher self and the beneficial energies, and just letting the neck relax, letting that energy go through your neck. This can often get held up in the neck, comes in through the head, but you want to allow it to come down into you, and for that you need to let go of the neck, let go of the throat. And let that channeled energy fill your body. And we can go to doctors, we can go to healers, we can go to clever herbalists and homeopaths and different people who are amazing. But also, without having to go anywhere, without having to do anything, we have access to the most potent, healing, rejuvenating, overwhelmingly positive, bright, divine, higher energies. The whole universe is there. And in a way, these clever people are acting as a medium to help us connect to those energies and the energies of the earth. So, allowing yourself, your own power, your own place, in the universal scheme of things, as an equal partner in your relationship with the earth, God, the higher self, the divine realms. Rather than kind of a beggar wanting a bit of energy or a bit of healing or something like that. Allow yourself to be an equal partner in that relationship, and that your higher self is you. It is the higher part of you. So allow that divine intervention into your life. Allow that healing to come down into every cell. And allow that intelligence, that deep healing, that knowing, being part of everything, owning in yourself that you are part of everything. And there is no death. You don't die. You may leave one body and transit to a new place, but you don't die, you live on. And just allowing yourself to find your divine position in all of that. And allowing that grace, that channel, that intelligence to be with you through the whole webinar. As your guide, your resource, your wholeness, and your healing. That you don't have to go to others to find God. You are that you're searching for. And within that, one thing that I'm going to bring more and more into this is our ability not just to channel healing. I mean, this is sometimes known as placebo, but I'm going to have to find a different name for this. So there is channeling the divine energies of the earth, the higher self, the beyond, but also from within us there is a knowing and a complete healing. So there's a bright light above. There's a bright light from within us. For me, it emanates kind of out of the heart area, but it's through all of us, and you may feel it in a different place, and your innate ability within yourself to heal everything, to be whole, in the same way as if you're told you're going to get better from something with the placebo effect, sometimes magically you do. But this is more than that. The placebo works maybe 30% of the time. This can work 100% of the time, that you connect to that inner knowing and inner wholeness where you can have total healing for yourself. And allow that to be there through the whole webinar. So we're going to come back in about a minute. So just gently being with that. Letting that calm down. And when you feel ready, gently allowing yourself to come back. So anyway, I was only expecting to bring in the energies, but it went a little bit further than that. Just put your hands up if you enjoyed that, if you felt that resonated. Okay, great. I'm going to carry on. I feel like it might be good to have a little bit of a break, but it's a bit early for that. I think I'll just carry on talking, and maybe we'll have a little bit of a break before we actually start the meditation. I'll start talking, and if I do need a few minutes, then I'll let you know. So there is this kind of channeling that happens in these webinars, and more I rely on that, and I open to that, and I trust that. And my guess is that in the background, there is what I'm teaching, but in a way, I think what brings people to webinars is more the energy. The energy brings people. And kind of the way I'd like to teach it is that you can own the energy for yourself, and you can connect to the energies for yourself. And so we're going to be working with the kidneys, and we will be working with the divine connection of the kidneys to the earth and the higher self. Also, one thing I mentioned, because I did just catch the end of a conversation when I came in, that after these, it feels very nice teaching these. I just feel this wonderful energy coming to me, and it feels lovely. But for a couple of days after, I'm really quite wasted and just processing a lot of stuff. And at the end of the second day, suddenly my Kundalini kicks in again. I feel this energy running through me. And I think, oh, thank God. And everything's cleared, and I feel good. So there is the healing of the webinar, but don't be surprised if you feel a bit under the weather, or you feel a lot of stuff going on for a couple of days, because probably things are percolating underneath the surface that just need to be transformed and work their way through. And because a lot of what we're working with aren't kind of just, we are doing a particular type of breathing or a breathing exercise. But for the main part, the spiritual side of it, I haven't got a clue what that's doing. It seems to be very healing and helpful, but I don't really know what they're up to. It's, you know, it just feels great to me, and that's all I can really say about it. I think kind of moving into the new age, or where we're going, is uncharted. At this time, you can't know the way forwards. You know, everybody's grappling around for what's going to come next. How do we move into the new age? You know, a lot of people are taught, you know, the power that the governments have got, that the big pharmaceutical companies have got, that this whole agenda seems to be going off, that's very hard not to be at the effect. And a lot of people think, well, how do we move forwards in a whole and healing way where we thrive as a race, and everybody thrives as a race? Excuse me, I've got such a dribbly nose, I'm really sorry. And that is the same with these. I don't know the way forward, but I get the feeling. I mean, I love that feeling. I love that feeling of feeling that I'm traveling and not having a clue of where I'm going. You know, you're just going into uncharted territory. I love the excitement of that you have to let go of the controls. I enjoy the excitement. You know, I used to enjoy just traveling all of the time. Now that I'm in one place and kind of my kundalini's gone off and I just feel to stay in one place, I enjoy traveling inwardly into different dimensions and wherever we're going with this. So we will be working with that aspect, the channeling and that inner healing for the kidneys. We will be grounding it through the bladder, through the vagina, the penis and the urethra, and we'll also be connecting up through the adrenals into the higher self and beyond. So we'll be doing that through the organs. We'll also be working with the hands and feet again. And what I wanted, so I'm going to have to close my eyes because I started this energy when we did the meditation. It was very hard to have my eyes open as that energy is coming through. So we're going to be working with the hands and feet, and for part of it, and that does a lot to really work the diaphragms and work the breathing motion through the whole body. For myself, I really enjoy that because when I start doing that, my breath kind of doubles. Really big movement of the diaphragm, the big opening of the abdomen, big opening of the lungs, and then it just becomes much deeper and longer, and I can feel it through the whole body. And what I've talked about a lot but haven't really had a very good way of teaching is that what is happening in the muscles with holographic breathing and with our normal breathing is kind of the polar opposite to what we experience. On the in-breath we experience the lungs are opening, the abdomen's opening, everything's opening. On the out-breath we experience everything's closing. On a level of the muscles which are creating the breath, and now that we're using the hands and feet, it's not just through this whole area, through everywhere, through the limbs, through the whole body, is the muscles are shortening on the in-breath. So there's a tension, there's a closing, there's a contraction of the muscles on the in-breath. And then there's a relaxation and lengthening of the muscles on the out-breath. So it's opposite to how we experience it. And in luckily this was still blown up from 2 weeks ago. We've just been sitting in a corner. So like with the abdomen, the muscles of the diaphragm above and below are contracting to produce the abdomen expanding, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. So there's this contraction. We experience the expansion. There's a contraction to produce that. Then there's a lengthening, the diaphragm separate and everything contracts. We feel the contraction, but actually what is causing that is the lengthening, allowing that to come back in. So through all of the muscles, there's a shortening and widening, a lengthening and narrowing, and that affects the whole body. There's a shortening and widening on the in-breath and a lengthening and narrowing on the out-breath. And we feel that through the whole musculature of the whole body, right up around the cranium, all of the muscles of the face. What holographic breathing does, it brings that to life, because that wasn't happening in the face before. But as soon as this suckling motion starts, that activates through the face, through the cranium, through the neck, and then through the whole torso, the arms and legs. But when we do it actively with the hands, feet, arms and legs, then that becomes a whole body sensation through every muscle. So each muscle is shortening and widening on the in-breath and lengthening and narrowing on the out-breath. But within that, every cell in that muscle is shortening and widening on the in-breath, and every cell in that muscle is lengthening and narrowing on the out-breath. So that is happening through the physicality of us to create the breath and a deeper and slower breath. And I think it's how the baby breathed in the womb, for the baby to progress and form in the womb. I think it centers around the original matrix and how we grew in the womb. And especially, you know, the lungs aren't doing a big breath in the womb. It's more likely that breath is more just of the abdomen, and that's how I experience it. When we're using the hands and feet, the breath is much more strongly in the abdomen. But that starts through every cell of every muscle, through the whole body, as an impetus to breathe in and then relax and breathe out. And what I want to bring you to tonight is not just that in the muscles, but that in the organs. My experience of it is that it isn't just in the cells that create the breath in the lungs and abdomen. It's in every organ. I experience it strongly in the brain. All the cells in the brain, they all have a skeleton. Every cell has a skeleton. Every cell has muscles. You get this breathing motion within all of the cells, and that creates the breathing motion through the brain, which is in line with how the muscles around the cranium and face are moving the face and cranium. That change breathes the cranium, and then within the cranium the brain is mirroring that with the intrinsic inner motion of the cells of the brain. So I've talked about it a lot within the brain, because that is one of the way I've healed Lyme's disease, but also within every organ, every cell. They can't just expand in all directions. Every cell is like a balloon. So breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. So the cells in the organs will be shortening and widening, lengthening and narrowing with all of the other cells. So we're kind of moving again into an era that I know nothing of, just moving into it in a felt sense. Who knows what's actually happening scientifically, but in a felt sense, to get used to the breathing motion of every cell. And every cell does have organs. They do have, I think the mitochondria, I think, is thought of as the lungs for each cell. So you can breathe the mitochondria. I don't even know the name. I haven't looked it up. I wouldn't even think of saying that word, but I think there's something like that. Is the breathing organ of the cell. So we'll be breathing with the mitochondria in every cell. Every cell I think they're called organelles, something like that. Every cell has organs. Every cell has fluids. Every cell has a brain. The brain of every cell is the nucleus. And in the same way as our brain, there are cells in our brain. Within the nucleus of the cell, there's the DNA. So the muscles start breathing, and for me, the organs fall in line with that. The cells in the organs breathe. You get this breathing, recuperation, healing of every cell. Within every cell, the breath, the organs, the brain, the cells breathe. I can't help but think that that can bring profound health. Every organ, every cell has its connection to the earth. Every cell has it, through the DNA, through the nucleus, this connecting to the higher energies. Through the heart, the breath of every cell is connecting to the lungs and heart. Through the bones, muscles of the cell, the deep organs, more connecting to the earth. So there's this holographic nature opening within us. So we're going to work with that. See, I didn't have a clue what I was going to talk about, but there we have it. That's what we're going to work with.